Kai Greene Effect.
I want to welcome everybody at the sound of my voice to this, our thing. This is our podcast. Myself and Generation Iron, Vlad Uden, we are here for the Kai Effect, the Kai Greene Effect, that is. And yes, I want to welcome you for a listening hour of hopefully pleasure and enjoyment.
I hope so.
And if it is, it's just something that you don't like. Some people like things that they don't like, but certainly it's our job, or I consider it my mission, to want to bring you some things that are thoughts and ideas that can help you maybe expound on some of your own thinking, and certainly aim to bring some good into your day, a little moment of joy in your life. Vlad, how'd you feel about that?
I'm feeling great about it, man. How you been? Were you working on any new music lately?
I am working on the new iteration of how I see Kai Greene develop into his own other thing. It's like it's not even me. It's more than that. It's a larger idea that I am very, very, very excited about. Yes, I am in the studio. I have been in the studio recently, and I can't wait to share some of the stuff that I've been working on. The title affectionately is K.I. Afro K. It's funny, I know, but in a short while, I'll be able to share with you some really cool insights on at least what this subject means for me, and you might like it. You'll certainly be entertained when you see it.
Didn't you tell me a story you one time ran in the gym somewhere? You ran into the guy from You Got Talent or something, and he was like, was it Randy or something like that, right? Did you tell me that story?
Whoa, wow, you just reached back. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, man. That is, I wish I took a minute to even brief myself on some of the notes from that, because technically what you just touched on was a moment of opportunity that happened by chance in the gym one day training. I was doing a big circuit system. I had like 3 other people that was training with me, and we were like intensely about this thing at the moment. And some guy walks up to me and he starts like, talking to me, and he says, "Hey, Kai Greene, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, I was still sweating, breathing heavy. My set was coming up, and it was like, I wanted to say something pleasant and just get right back to work. But when I looked again, I realized he was still talking to me. His lips were moving. He was saying something. And it was like, wait, I don't have time to talk. I want to get back to this set. Okay, say something cool and then keep it moving. But he said something, and I listened again. "I'm sorry, what'd you say your name was?" He said, "Look, all I want to do is know, was that your voice? Was that really you singing?" And I said, "Wait a minute. What did you say your name was?" It was at that moment that he revealed to me his name. It was none other than Randy Jackson. I was like, "Randy Jackson? The Randy Jackson?" It's like, wait a minute. This is a moment of like, he said, "Yeah, man, my brother sent me this video clip of you singing, man." And I thought, wait a minute. The afro was funny, but man, I didn't know you had a voice like that. And I was like, wait a minute. I mean, it's one of those moments where like ego and like just blind luck opportunity just like knocks you back 3 steps and says to you, "Hey man, this is why you need to be humble. This is why sometimes you need to try to be patient even when you feel overwhelmed in the moment." I wanted to get back to my set. But yeah, man, it was the Randy Jackson. And it was just one of the biggest compliments that I could tell you I think I've ever heard, in light of just recognizing something else that I thought was pretty cool.
He's a very big producer, for those who don't know, and a big television star as well. He's huge.
Yeah, it was a moment. It was a moment of like, it was a moment of just humbling moment of opportunity. And I just thought, wow, this is awesome. Thank you for even remembering that. 'Cause that was years ago.
How can I forget that? So Kai, typically we do a lightning round from the listeners, but I think today we should address some topics first, and then we'll do the lightning round. Okay, how do you feel about that? So some of your comments, I guess, made some noise in the industry, ruffled some feathers. I don't know, maybe the wrong way. But
Mm.
it's when you and I were discussing your potential comeback to the stage, competing wise, and what it would entail. I think a lot of people in the industry thought what you were saying is, if you were to come back to a major competition, you want to get compensated for that up front versus a specialty event, like a novelty event, right? So that's, I think, that's a confusion. I think people, I don't know how they took it exactly, but I'm guessing they thinking you want to get paid to come back and compete at a regular competition against other competitors, right? So I think is what's happening here.
Mm. So, that's an interesting way of seeing it. I thanks Vlad for even giving me this platform and opportunity to even address that. Because, I think sometimes people can get the wrong idea and find themselves very passionately fueled with the wrong impression. I think Kai Greene getting back on stage is not a question of one, can he beat everybody in the world? You
Hmm.
know, um, as much as it can be, hey, here's an opportunity to experience this sport and larger working idea that is a summation of all the things that we think are good about ourselves. The opportunity to be encouraged again, to imagine again, not to be limited by just the sets and reps numbers that we see in front of us. Hey, well, how big are your arms? How big is your back? What about the art, the love, and the vision of this experience? I think Kai Greene getting back on stage gives us an opportunity to see what that looks like, to experience that magic. And it's not a question of whether or not he's competing to beat everybody, as much as it is that he has a reason to do it.
Hmm.
And with that, man, he's able to show again an idea that is beautiful. I saw Phil Heath and
Jay,
uh, Jay Cutler in a video clip the other day,
yeah, I saw that.
and man, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't believe that Jay was in such condition even
Mm.
now. It spoke about the lifestyle. It spoke about the personal development aspect of this experience beyond the stage. It was a way of ministering to me, seeing his example.
Right.
I saw Phil Heath actually looking like, yo, this dude, are you kidding me? They're it I relived an experience of magic that I couldn't have gotten, looking at some of the other ideas that are being offered in the sport right now. And just for a minute, it was a beauty that I felt I was in touch with, that I think a lot of us that are enthusiasts and lovers of this experience at heart can appreciate.
I think so a lot of people in the bodybuilding industry, I think they think you are saying is, let's say they're doing Masters Olympia right this year, or they're doing some
You,
kind of other competition. What I think they're saying is that you want to get paid to compete in a competition versus and they saying basically it's unfair to other competitors. They come in there for the prize money, right? And you want to be paid to compete there. What I think, and you might want to explain it better. What I think you're saying is no, I don't want to get paid to compete in a competition. I want to create an event, almost as if you were to guest pose in any event, right? You get compensated for that, right? So
absolutely.
what you're saying is basically the same thing as a guest posing, except some other guy comes out on stage, right? And you guys do a pose off against each other. So it's not part of the actual competition. It's a standalone, separate thing, right? That's what I think you actually were saying.
So here's the thing. The truth is, how they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. We each represent an infinite number of opportunities. We just do. Through the course of our lives, we're an example of how we think, what we do. Choices that we make are a reflection of how we think, how we process information, where do we come from, how have we been brought up. All of those things are on display, I think, in that example of, who we are, what we do. However you control the narrative, you know, people can say, "Hey, you were there to perform." People can say you were there to, however you choose to justify it. But I think, there's an opportunity in this to have an opportunity to consider again, at least for a moment, that competitive experience. I think is an opportunity just to consider the art form. I don't want to lose the idea, but I'm just saying that yeah, it's not something to hate someone about or to create a whole bunch of negative stuff. Really something that's based in good, and the further development and building of our brands and things. are all things to be realized as a result. The nostalgic remembering, the nostalgic ability to remember that experience, what it was, what it felt like, what it can be, even today, I think is profitable and fruitful for anyone that was considering to at least entertain the conversation, even now.
Let's say nobody in bodybuilding would step up, no promoter would step up and want to put it together an event like this, right? Like a pay-per-view event like this. Let's say that's out of the question completely. If that's the case, is there and that's what the fans ultimately wanna know, right? The enthusiasts of the sport, as you say. If that's not in the picture at all, would is there a possibility that you do want to just compete in any event, whether it's masters, whether it's doesn't matter what competition it is. Is there a chance of you doing a competition for just to do it?
That's the thing. I doubt that you can be in a place that you're not affected by your growth and development. Certainly, your ability to mature and evolve is something that is expected of you. If I had a son and my son, you know, we're in kindergarten and we celebrated his first steps in kindergarten. And when he was ready to graduate to first grade, we would applaud and, we'd give thanks for his ability to develop beyond where he was. Now, my son, when he goes on to college, I would expect the same thing. I don't expect to have a son that's 35 years old still talking about, "Hey, Dad, you're going to come to my graduation from the second grade to the third as an adult." I would expect him to accomplish more than that in the effort to grow and develop. Certainly at this stage in my life and career, we're at a place where I think you should not be expected to be where you were 20 years ago in the development of your vision,
I hear you.
bringing your vision to the stage, showing the world how to see you and what you want them to take away, with how important, this ability to present yourself
Hmm.
means to you. To compete 13 years ago, 20 years ago, I think you certainly have to have different ideas um, about what your legacy will be. And certainly at this time, 20 years later, I've been now training and competing, for more than I care to say. But with that said, I believe that there's so many lessons learned that by this stage in your life and career, you know, it should not be about money. More importantly, it should not even be about competition. What you are is an opportunity to experience or showcase what this thing looks like beyond just the sets, numbers, and reps of today. There are athletes that are working now that would like to see a really awesome example of what this thing can look like by the time that you have had access to so much time and maturation in this game. You know, the process of your prep, the ability to showcase on stage, to stand and deliver.
By the way, what did you think of Kevin Levrone's comeback? Remember he did a comeback. He made a comeback like 2017, I think it was. He actually went to the Olympia. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I
What'd you
do
think?
remember
What'd you
that.
think
I
about
was at
that?
that.
What'd you
I
think
was
about?
present at that Olympia.
Yeah, yeah. What'd you think about that comeback? Did you were you impressed? Were you?
I think at the time, I, like most people, didn't get a chance to appreciate everything that I saw with the example of what he did. And I think the truth, a lot of us will miss it, if we don't know what we're looking at. You know, Kevin Levrone coming back out of retirement, for him, he had totally moved to another side of his life and personal experience.
Right.
He had moved beyond the sport for him. The disciplines and things that, from what I understand, in the life of that man, um, was experienced on a whole new level in a whole other direction. And for that man at that time to entertain thoughts of coming back to the stage, he ended up having to face some very interesting challenges to
Oh yeah.
do that. It was not something that a lot of people will just take for granted. Oh, because of his genetics and because of he's
Right.
been there before, it should be easy for him. No, even though I've gotten a chance to meet him and I've gotten a chance to talk with him personally, there's still a very, very significant things about that effort for him that I didn't get a chance to hear him express to me personally. But I will say that now, having moved to another stage in my life, I am now in a much better position to appreciate some of the challenges and struggles that Kevin Levrone had to face when he made the declaration of accepting, the opportunity to get on that stage again and do a comeback. And it's one of those things that you also have to control the narrative. Because if you don't control the narrative, then it just becomes something else for someone else to use as they please, and you know, alert the people's attention to the things that will just make sense to them. Um, Kevin Levrone making that comeback was a significant triumph on a lot of levels for over obstacles and challenges that the fans and viewers would have never known. It's probably, you know, a really good thing to giving Kevin Levrone an opportunity to maybe discuss some of that in his memoirs, maybe some public speaking, I don't know, some interviews. But yeah, that's
I think what was smart about it from that perspective, he was the first one to do it because the following year, Flex Wheeler made the comeback to the stage, and it didn't get enough. It didn't just get the same amount of spotlight. When Kevin did it a year prior, it received a lot of spotlight. It was the talk of that Olympia actually. So I think he capitalized on that. The first one doing it. When you're the first one doing something, right? It's always like unpredictability because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, what if he's going to come back and win because he's so superior?" You know what I mean? It was so much. And I think when it comes to these type of events, anticipation is everything. It's like when Mike Tyson fought Jake Paul, right? The fight itself was not very exciting. To a lot of people said it was terrible, but the anticipation was everything, right? Because you don't know what can happen in that ring, right? You don't, so that's the same thing with Kevin Levrone. Like nobody knew what to expect, and that's why I feel like it's
yeah.
so. And it kind of like to be perfectly honest with you, if you was to make that comeback, right? It'd be so much anticipation because like what is because Scott, you competed last time in 2016, right? So it's been a few years. So it's like, is Kai gonna come back the same way? Is it gonna be way off? Is it gonna be like it's gonna be so much anticipation, and that's what I think people still talk about this. You know what I mean? If you competed last year and you make another comeback, it wouldn't have been as interesting.
But with saying that though, I want to throw this out there. We're in a different time in the sport, and certainly with being able to say that, there are new ways and ideas that we'd actually be able to speak to building the anticipation, thus also being able to attract again some of the very sound business strategy on the other side of that
Right.
also
Right.
becomes important too. But with that, to kind of go in over the shoulder of the athlete that's dealing with some of the challenges. You know, um, every athlete that aspires to do something big in their sport and their industry, you know, um, has to encounter along the way issues and ideas that are, for some people, threatening of the whole mission in itself. A lot of times, we get the impression to see a award-winning record breaker performance of any said athlete, be it a track and field athlete, a football star, um, a player on the ice hockey field, um, may break these records or may actually do, some of the things of note while tendering an injury or a set of issues that if the public knew, you're like, man, that's probably impossible to do. And in the accomplishment becomes this beacon of what it looks like to be hopeful, the exercise of faith, and to see it, in real time working in our life,
Hmm. Well,
So
we're actually, we're getting almost out of time. But any thoughts on Nick Walker's performance at Pittsburgh Pro? It was some controversy there, I guess. Not controversy, but a lot of fans were split on who actually won. Did you see the any footage from that event or any pictures?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
who were you rooting for, or who did you think were deserving of a first place?
So here's the thing. One, Derek's my boy, and
I like Derek.
honestly, uh, Nick Walker is like I'm just very 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 personally, I feel like I have had an opportunity to see my light and experience kind of, touch that, in its own way. It is just so spiritually moving for me. Anytime I actually come across uh the vision of seeing the stuff that he's doing now, to hear and to see what happened on that stage. First of all, his name in the mix brought interest, spotlight, spectacle. It gave Derek something to actually have to fight against. The question of, you know, what will he do going forward, and can he do it? Any of the challenges that some of the naysayers, would want to identify, for Nick, I believe just really makes the pot that much sweeter. I think what was accomplished that weekend was something that was really good for the sport. It's great for their careers, not just Nick Walker's. Um, it gives us more food and nourishment that makes this sport better because it exists. I applaud the efforts of Nick Walker and Derek. I think they did an amazing job, man.
It was actually even score. The score was even, but the judges had the final say, and then they picked Derek. By the way, did you hear what Bob Cicherillo said afterwards?
It's the yeah, I did.
The
Um,
veins, the varicose veins that he was calling out, I
I
guess.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think at the end of the day, as an enthusiast of the sport and the business of it, I think there's some things that we need to be responsible about in order not to give our sport and things a black eye. I think, anytime we get an opportunity to speak in a with a microphone and a position of authority, there's a sensitivity that we need to have. I don't think with that though that Bob was saying something that was designed to be hurtful. Um, but I would want to focus on, yo, man, there's a huge accomplishment, to Nick's credit with doing what he did. I mean, the spotlight was on him, and that intensity is very, very hot. That position of being, you have no choice but to stand and deliver. And when you have to do that, like Nick Walker had to, it doesn't make any of the other challenges less, formidable. If anything, it can become every reason why you would hear the objections that tell you don't even try, give up, turn around, don't even come there. This guy's an ex-Mr. Olympia. Who are you to stand there and think so boldly of yourself, your vision, your dream, the passion in your heart, and stand there and try to, go toe to toe with him? Are you kidding me? He fought the good fight. He fought the good fight.
Sure.
Um, I can do nothing but feel uplifted with the results of what happened there. And it's Yeah, I really want to applaud him. I really want to applaud him. He came there, he was hard, he was conditioned. This was not, he couldn't afford to be off at all, at all, at all. And for what he did, he brought it. He brought it and he brought it handily, and it's not set in stone what will happen should they meet again. You know what I mean? And and
Sure.
and now to meet anywhere else with
Sure.
any number of other hopefuls that are in that lineup right
It's
now
very close.
that are working just as hard, you know, it's an opportunity to like come face to face with the realism of this game. That this race is not given to the swift or to the strong, you know, but he that's willing to endure. And I think that he's on a roll now. He's on a roll now. And you can't count him out going forward.
You be following the Diddy trial at all? I want to get your opinion on that. It's crazy.
Wow, that's crazy. I grew up in New York, real talk, and the '90s. When being a young man bouncing in the in the club scene, was something that you did. You found as low hanging fruit in an effort to kind of scratch out a living for yourself in the New York City nightlife, as that was my reality in the '90s. So to find yourself, with an opportunity to work on the door at a party like, at the Mirage or Latin Quarter, Yeah, yeah. I can say I was there. I was there. Hey, and I was there at the total parties. I was there with the total album release party. A 18-year-old, 19-year-old, young man bouncing in New York City nightlife. A million years ago, it felt like. Um, to cross paths with P Diddy, the P Diddy, Puff, as they call him at the time, it's like you know, more than you could hope for. Bouncing on the door, P Diddy walked by you. There was one of those moments where I would imagine even then that you hoped to be somehow you just caught up in that energy of success. So this guy, like, to see him going through this stuff that's happening now, to realize the height that he climbed to, and just to see how the whole world is affected by, how he allegedly ran some of these operations. I mean, celebrated, Total's whole album. You know what I mean?
Does that
His
affect?
album
Does that
release
affect
party.
now how you? Because this trial is very graphic. There's every day that they release, and it's impossible to avoid it because it's all over the news,
You
right?
can't. That's right. You
So
can't.
does
You
that
can't.
affect now how you look back at listening to the music and just does that?
It does.
It
It
does, right?
does. It does.
It's
It
crazy.
forever changes, some of the things that I consider is what I imagine the reality of being at the top of that experience in the spotlight would have been. Yeah, I'm very saddened by, the allegations. I think, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Right.
Has his has his has a celebrity been negatively affected? Absolutely. Is it
Right.
something that you think he could come back from? I don't think so. I really don't. Um, but you know, um, I don't think you should have to give up your soul, in pursuit of developing your art. Um, but there's a part of me that does believe that that's not really the question. Um, I think your art is always going to be the thing that celebrates the beauty about you and you know your opportunity to exist. Art always celebrates that. Um,
I hear you. So we are almost literally out of time. We have 3 questions from the lightning round. Please just try to give a 2 sentence answer
let's get it.
because I
All
want
right,
to
let's
get through.
try. Let's try.
I want to address all 3 questions, but I want to go through it as fast as possible. Okay. All right. First question from Boris Krizan 7447. Kai, how can you build bigger legs and sparing your knees and lower back in process? I'm 45 years old. Thank you, sir, Boris. So bigger legs while sparing your knees and lower back.
I think that's one of those questions we are wrestling with every day, myself included,
Mm,
even now. Uh, activate, activate, activate. My first answer to that: activate, activate, activate. Lee Haney used to say, "Stimulate, not annihilate. Stimulate, not annihilate." So the idea immediately that goes out the window is thinking I need to squat heavy in order to build my quads, in order to build my hamstring. I'd say focus on building your hamstring, building your quad, building your glute. Stimulate, not annihilate. Activate, activate, activate. I think as long as you're thinking in the lines of in the lane of activating your muscles, activating your quads, keeping them under you can apply the time under tension prevent principles. There's a number of things you can do, but let your activation of the muscles be the thing that leads you, and not just the selection of heavy duty exercises performed with just a lot of heavy weight.
nice. All right. Second question. This one is interesting. From Myra 819. Is Kai single?
That's what's up. Come on with it,
She's
Myra.
probably
I
she's probably
appreciate you.
interested.
Yeah, that's
She
what's
wants to
up.
know.
That is so what's up. I am actually in a committed relationship.
Oh wow.
Yes, I am
Wow.
in love. I'm feeling good about that. And yes, my lady knows who she is. That's right. She's in the Air Force. Feel good, mama. Stand up.
Do you get a lot of DMs from women asking you out on a date?
Man, I get DMs from everybody. It's like, whoa, I feel like Rick James a little. There's a Rick James in everybody, just a little bit. God damn it, it's great. But I just didn't get my invite to the Diddy party, so I'm still waiting on that one.
All right, last one. He sounds like either a bit of a hater or maybe a very anxious fan. This is, it reverts back to you competing again, right? So,
Okay.
Nero Bruno, how old are you? Question mark. And do you think waiting will improve your chances? Question mark. So this is back to like you competing and not competing, whatever. He's saying like, what are you waiting for? Like, you know, what do you think you gonna get better or something like that? You know.
So here's the thing. I appreciate that question. And in the lightning round, I know we're probably supposed to move fast, but I want to unpack that for a minute. You asked me a question. Do I think that waiting will that improve my chances? The chances of what? Aiming to be the success that I aspire to be every day when I wake up in the morning. I mean, that's not something you wait on. That's something that you actively put into practice now. Um, the only chance that we're looking for is the opportunity to do your best at creating the life for yourself that being the working person that's the chief principal influence in your life. There's not going to be anyone more influential in your life than the man or woman that you see in the mirror. So that said, I have a responsibility every day, to work and do my best, and with that, yeah, I think as we evolve and as we grow, yeah, with that should be an opportunity to realize that in even more vivid dimensions. Yeah, yeah, we should be expanding in our thinking. We should be growing um, every day. So, and the chance that you talk about, the chance to show something beautiful, yeah, I think every day we have an opportunity to expand and grow in the direction that we want to most, and to in doing that, um, show something even more beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there we
I
have it.
am
That
not
was.
finished. I'm not finished, Vlad. I'm saying this for
I
real.
like how
I'm
you.
not
I like how
finished.
you spun that. That was smart. That was smart. All right. Well, there we have it. That was our lightning round. I encourage everybody to write in the comments below and request more questions that you want Kai to answer. I think that builds a great engagement and direct communication with Kai Greene.
Yeah, but wait a minute, because we still got more. Here's the thing, man. We are just getting started with this. This is not even just scratched the surface yet. Now we have a commitment that we're making to the viewing audience that has begun to follow us here. And we're going to continue to develop for the better. We're saying that I can't let every cat out the bag just yet, but we're working to improve even what we're presenting now. I only expect to do more, to reach and to aim higher. And we're going to bring it here first with you. So if you've already tuned in and you've gotten to a place where you've at least gotten this far with us, I encourage you to stay tuned because, yeah, man, the work is about to be done and we ain't nowhere near finished. All right. So on that note, I guess we're going to just sign off. I thank everybody for tuning in at the sound of our voices, Vlad and myself. We want to encourage you to remember to be encouraged, be of good courage, keep it positive, stay positive, and let's keep encouraging each other. Till next time, let's keep it positive. Let's do it again. Peace.